Hi, everybody. Erica from In the Company of Cards here. So, as promised, I am going to be looking at the month of June for all of us according to astrological sign. So, the first thing that I think I want to say is that these videos will be, I'll probably spend maybe like 5 minutes or so per sign. I'm going to use both tarot and Lenormand. I have drawn a single tarot card already for each sign, and then I'll be clarifying them with each of the cards with 5 Lenormand cards. I'll be able to go in a little bit more depth. If I were you, I would look at my rising sign, my sun sign, and my moon sign. To get a really full flavor of what the month holds, and who knows? I mean, there could be readings that seem contradictory to you, right? Like your rising sign might say something quite different from your moon sign. Your homework, because I'm a teacher, right? Your homework assignment is to watch the videos for each of those signs and then pay attention to your life as it plays out during this month of June. Make note of what resonates and how. If something doesn't resonate, make note of that. And then I will ask you just to put in your comments at the end of the month what your findings were. My goal is not just to give you me on the screen for another hour a week, although that's, I guess, part of it, but it's to show you how cards function in a real lived context. And so to get a forecast like this and for me to interpret these cards for you, your job then becomes, well, how is that playing out in actuality, right? Because you could say to yourself, how is it possible that every, I don't know, Leo on the planet would get that tarot card and then these 5 clarifying cards? I would suggest that physics tells us that every single thing is connected to every single other thing, but all in different ways, right? I always say, if I could, I would line up the whole world and I would read for them one at a time with just my little 36 card deck. And I would be able to give each person a reading that spoke specifically to them. How is that possible? Well, I think you're about to find out the miracle of that and how it is possible. So just pay attention to your own life, watch these sun, moon, rising signs, and then make notes, and then we'll talk about it. Okay? Astrological. So going according to the astrological calendar, I've decided that I would start with Aries. That's the beginning of the astrological year. And obviously that's in the spring. And I have drawn, as I said, a tarot card for each sign. So the card for, and I drew from 2 decks. This is kind of like what I do on Substack. So the card for Aries is the Son of Baskets. In traditional tarot, that is the Knight of Cups. Okay. So this is a card of, I would say, intuition, imagination. And as you can see, sometimes it's kind of romantic. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is pull 5 cards for the Son of Baskets, which is the Knight of Cups, and see what's coming in for you and how we can clarify that Knight of Cups with Lenormand. Oops, upside down, but that's okay. We don't read Lenormand upside down. Okay, so the cards that I have for Aries to clarify the Son of Baskets, the Knight of Cups, which again is that very sort of intuitive, full of imagination card, again, sometimes romantic, is the Star, the coffin, the moon, the letter, and birds. So what does that mean for your month of June? Well, I love that it starts with the star, because one of the meanings of star is it's a sign of hope, the card of hope. And here it's followed by the coffin, which don't leap to conclusions, because it doesn't mean that hope dies. No, that's not what these cards are saying. This is a beautiful card, hope. So have hope that whatever difficult situation you're going through, it is about to change, or that you will transform whatever's been difficult in an imaginative, right, intuitive kind of a way. You'll be able to transform that situation. Now, I always say that the center card is really important with Lenormand. Here, it's the moon. So I feel like for Aries, what we're talking about is your understanding of yourself or other people's understandings of who you are. So that looks like it's going to be going through some kind of a change or a transformation. Now, I always mirror cards. So we have the birds as that last card. Here's our card for hope, and I can mirror it with birds. Well, what does that mean? Birds, remember, is about publicity, buzz, hype, talk. If there is something that you're wanting to bring to life, something that you are imagining, because remember, we're talking about the Son of Baskets, talking about the Knight of Cups. If there's something that you'd like to bring into being, talk it up, breathe it, and speak it into existence. Speak it not just to the mirror, but speak it out loud to other people. Also, write it down. Write it down. That's where transformation happens. I always say that the language is universe. The language of the universe is vibrational. So it's saying, speak and write what you want to bring into existence, and watch how that transforms the energy for you. And it feels like it's all about, again, how you present to the world, how the world perceives you. So that's really interesting, Aries, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out for you. Okay, next up we have Taurus. And the card that I pulled for Taurus, the tarot card, is the Two of Coins, otherwise known as the Two of Pentacles. Okay, and as you can imagine, this is about adaptability, about balance, stability. So that's what you will be seeking, trying to attain in the month of June, Taurus. Okay, what does Lenormand have to tell us about this? Let's see. How does Taurus achieve balance in June? Okay, really interesting that this first card is the star again. And I shuffled these cards when I paused the video. So, that's interesting. The star, the bouquet, clouds, tree, and heart. Okay, what's that about? Well, again, this is about hope. And it's mirrored by the heart. So, how we will say to ourselves, oh, I really wish this, that, or the other would happen, but that's never going to happen because it's never happened before. Why would that happen to me? I've never been lucky that way. Well, you're sending out very mixed messages to the universe when you do that. You want to send a message to the universe that is in balance with what you want to achieve, right? So I love that the second card is the bouquet. This is the card for, it's a gift, it's a reward, it may be a raise, depending on your personal circumstances. It's also the card for anything that brings beauty into the world. So it's the card for visual and performing arts of all kinds. So if there is something that you do, that you love to do, that is arts related, and by the way, you might say to yourself, I am so not artsy. Like, that's so not me. I mean, it could be building models. It could be all the standard things, but it might be something just really out of the way that you turn into art. The thing is, the tendency is to, this is the card in the middle, to say what I just said. Oh, I'm not good at that. I don't know how to do that stuff. That's not for me. You know, why there will be plenty of people to critique what you do. Why would you add yourself to the list of detractors? Right? Be your own cheerleader. Do it for the love of it, just for the love of it. And then watch your passion for it grow. So remember that the card that we got for you for tarot is the Two of Pentacles, right? The Two of Coins. This is about balance, perspective. I think that's a better way to put it. Perspective. Nobody's asking you to be, Rembrandt or Michelangelo, but I mean, can you color? I color. I have a coloring book. I'll show it to you. And I just use it's just a black pen, and then I make pictures like this. For me, that's art. I don't care. It's very meditative. If I had to freehand draw this, oh my God, forget about it. That wouldn't happen. But I consider this art. So you, Taurus, are asked, and Taurus, you love luxury, you love relaxing, pick something relaxing that's art related. Don't worry about what somebody else thinks of it and whether you're good enough. Do it for the love of the thing, and then watch your love for it grow. So that's your forecast, Taurus. Okay, next up is Gemini. And so for Gemini, the card that I pulled is the Son of Knives, which is the same thing as the Knight of Swords. Okay. And this is a card of bold, decisive action, but also bold, decisive speech. Geminis love to talk, and Geminis definitely are the idea people. But this is bold and decisive, forthright. So you'll have some opportunity to be that way in June. All right, let's see what Lenormand has to say about that. Okay. Okay, Knight of Swords action. Okay, really interesting cards, Gemini. We have the Tower, we have Fish, we have the Book, the Whip, and the Mountain. So it looks very much as though bold, decisive talk, bold, decisive action is going to be called for. The Tower here could be a workplace. And if the second card is Fish, that could be, negotiating for a raise. But more to the point, this is the card for independence and autonomy. And when this is not about money, it's about emotion. So you're going to have to, as they say, stand your ground on something. And the thing about it is, you're not going to know from Jump Street automatically from the beginning that if you hold your ground on a certain issue, that you're going to get what you want, because we have the Book in the middle. And the Book is about things we don't know. So I think part of your bold, decisive action should be to do your due diligence. Know what you're talking about, first of all. Don't just go off half-cocked. Come from an informed place, because it feels like this is the card for decisive speech, we'll call it, arguments even. And we have the Mountain as the last card. So this is not one of those readings where, and then they lived happily ever after. No, I don't think so. I think this for you, Gemini, will be a month where you will have to stand your ground. You may face opposition. It could be from in a top-down kind of a way, from authority figures, for example. You're asked to stand your ground, and again, with no guarantee that the outcome will be the one that you look for. But if it's something that you feel strongly about, you're being asked to step up, but step up again from an informed place. Don't be discouraged if whatever you are arguing about or fighting for or standing up for is delayed or is not immediately handed to you on a silver platter, because life doesn't work that way. But the universe is saying, set this in motion, that you are right to be bold and decisive, but temper it by coming from a place of knowledge as opposed to, again, running off at the mouth when you don't know what you're talking about. So it may feel a little bit like a lonely month, because you may be the only one taking that stand, or you may be standing up for other people who can't stand up for themselves. But the cards are indicating that you are up to the challenge, and that you will not be destroyed by disappointment. A lot of times the Mountain is an opportunity to stop, reassess, retool, maybe get more information, right? So that's interesting. That's a very interesting reading. So get your beauty sleep in the next 2 days, because it sounds like, Gemini, you're going to be suiting up for something that you think really deserves to be stood up for. Okay. Cancer, you're up next. And following on the heels of Gemini, the energy that you have is similar. So I have pulled a tarot card for you, and it is the Ace of Swords, or the Ace of Knives. Okay. Now, this is about truth. You've heard of the Sword of Truth, and mental clarity. Swords stand for things that are of the mind. So, truth and mental clarity, you will be called upon to exercise those. But let's see what Lenormand says that can be helpful. Okay. Truth and mental clarity for Cancer. All right. So it kind of a little bit feels as though you pick up where Gemini left off, which is for the month. So we have the Mountain and the Book, or the two cards that we saw in the previous reading, Clover, Child, and Rider. Okay, but your story is a little bit different from the previous signs, obviously. You start with the Mountain. So you may be facing a situation where you have been stuck, stymied, required to pause, required to retool. And you may start out the month saying, okay, I'm stuck. Not only am I stuck, I don't know what I'm supposed to do about that. Like, what's my next step? So don't be surprised if the beginning of the month doesn't feel like that for you, or does feel like that for you. The interesting card always is the one in the middle, because what happens is you will have a eureka moment with Clover. Clover is one of what I call the happiness cards, but it's a certain kind of happiness. It's quick, it's ephemeral, it's an aha type of thing. So whatever has been blocking you, the mountain is moved out of your way. And it feels like a lucky thing, a lucky break. So be on the lookout, Cancer, for some luck this month. And it will lead you on a new path. And you will get messages or a message for how to move away from that mountain. That's the messenger here. So look, I can mirror the mountain, which whatever's been blocking you, and then the rider is about news coming in. So there's absolutely forward movement in this card and in the spread. And the other thing is, don't rack your brains saying to yourself, well, what could she be talking about? What might that mean? I have no idea. That makes no sense. Don't worry about that. You're not supposed to know yet. It's absolutely appropriate that in the beginning of the month, you're just like, I don't know, because then you have this eureka moment. Something new is communicated to you, and it moves the energy forward for you. So I think this is a kind of an exciting month for you. I'm looking forward to how this plays out in each of your individual lives. So I hope that you will keep track of it and then let me know. Our next sign is Leo. That's my sun sign. And the card that we have is the Hierophant. It's called the Hierophant both in the traditional Waite-Smith system and also in the Black Tarot. Notice the pictures. We have a pope, and then we have like a black church lady all dressed up with her hat and her high heels and her church appropriate high-necked dress. And so this card refers to tradition, conformity. And so I'm curious to see what Lenormand will say about tradition and conformity. We are in Pluto in Aquarius, where tradition and conformity are being thrown out the window left and right. So what about conformity? What about tradition? Will this month ask you to be more cautious and conservative, or to throw that out the window? I don't know. Let's see what the cards say. So for the Hierophant, which is for Leo, we have okay. So remember that our table is set with the Hierophant, the card for tradition, conformity, playing by the rules, etc. The clarifiers or the Lenormand cards, the clarify it are the young woman, the bear, the tower, the book, and the fox. All right, what might this mean? I think that, Leo, you may be tempted to go into a situation and think that you know what you're doing, but your perspective is a little naive. If that's the case, you want to be careful, because the second card is the bear. You don't want to be overwhelmed by the bear. So the card in the middle is the tower. This is the card for autonomy, for independence. And it's all well and good for her to be that way. This is energetic. Doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. This is energetic. It's okay for this energy to be confident and self-assured, but it's important to know that you may be, I don't know, walking into a lion's den or a bear's den unawares, because this is our fourth card and it mirrors the bear. There are things about this situation that you're not aware of, and you need to figure that stuff out. Now, I think it's really interesting that this is the last card here, the fox, and I can mirror it with this energy. I would say that you are being asked to be, speaking of the Hierophant traditional, what my mother would have called, quoting the Bible, she would have said, be wise as a serpent or a fox, and gentle as a dove or yin energy. Be wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. This way, whatever energy could come at you won't know what to make of you. And that's a good thing. I think it will be impressive. So if you are dealing with anything that is hierarchical in nature, administrators, bosses, that kind of thing, know your stuff before you take them on. Be respectful as you take them on. You don't need to be ad hominem about it. The way I am when I call the felon. An ad hominem attack means that I'm attacking the person instead of, arguing about policy or something. Argue about policy, that's fine, but you don't need to call names or anything like that. Stick by the rules of engagement in that setting, whatever that setting is, because it could be a pretty formal setting. But if you are wise as a serpent or a fox and gentle as a dove, you could best whoever you have to best, whether it's a boss or whatever it is. They'll be confused. It's like people who are confused that I have this very traditional Hierophant kind of academic background, being a Harvard graduate, right? And yet here I am doing this woo-woo stuff. But that, in some ways, is part of, I suspect, the attraction for the work that I do. So be smart about it. Come prepared, but be willing to smile and be charming, because that's what they respond to, the Hierophant. And I think you will find that you get what you want. Interesting. All right. Can't wait to hear how that plays out. Let us know. Okay, Virgo, it's your turn. And as I have for all the others, I have pulled first a tarot card, and that will inform the energy of the month. And then I'm going to pull some Lenormand cards, 5 of them, that will help you navigate the lesson from the tarot. So gird your loins, buckle up, because you have, as your tarot card, the 5 of Cups, or in the Black Tarot, the 5 of Baskets. Now, as you can see, this is someone who is, their head is bowed, their affect is kind of flat, and it is considered, the card of disappointment. I do want to call your attention to the fact that of the 5 cups that are here, 2 are still upright, but our character is focused on the 3 that have spilled. By the same token, our grocery shopper has has dropped some eggs. So he's focused on those broken eggs when really all he has to do is say, excuse me, clean up on aisle 6, and then take a fresh dozen from the dozen that are with the dozens that are up here. But instead, he's focused on those broken eggs. So just bear that in mind. What goes up comes down, what goes down comes up. We all face disappointment in life. The tarot is reminding you to be disappointed, feel your feelings, and then see what you can recoup from whatever that loss was. So let's let Lenormand help with that second part of the message. How do you recoup? Okay, Virgo. Okay. So we have the bear, we have the whip, we have the lily, the ring, and the clouds. So I think that, I'm loving the way these cards are working so in such synchronicity with each other, even when the messages are a little bit harder than others. So the bear, one of the meanings for bear, I would say, is overwhelm. And of course, when we are disappointed, we are overwhelmed. I mean, that's normal. Like if you were disappointed, but you weren't overwhelmed, what? But the task is to manage the overwhelm, right? To manage the disappointment. And so I can mirror this overwhelm card with the last card, and it's clouds. The thing about clouds is clouds are thoughts. That's all they are. They come, they go. But thoughts become things. Of course, right? Everything that you see around you, every single thing began first with a thought. So you have a choice in whether you let yourself stay in overwhelm. And of course, when you're in the middle of overwhelm, the temptation is to say, what do you mean? Of course, I'm going to stay in overwhelm. I don't see any way out. I mean, look, all these cups are spilled. Look, all these eggs are broken. But again, these are thoughts. And if you work to change your thoughts, you might decide to turn around and notice the 2 cups that are still standing, or the dozens and dozens of eggs on offer that are not broken. The thing is that in order to move from that overwhelmed state, that disappointed state, it takes discipline. The whip is the card for discipline. It takes discipline, and it takes it has to become a habit. So self-talk, meditation, exercise, music, a bubble bath, whatever. There are things that you can do on repeat that become habits that help you achieve peace and absorb disappointment in a way that doesn't break you. And I know that this is possible and that you will do it because we have the center card, which is the ultimate card for peace and ease and comfort. So whether you achieve this or not is up to you, and how disciplined you are and sustained you are in that discipline in managing your overwhelm. So it's it's not a fun lesson for the month. I grant you that. It's not fun, but it is absolutely worthwhile. It's a worthwhile use of your time this month. How do I manage disappointment? How do I make lemonade from lemons? Right? How do I achieve the peace that passeth all understanding? Right? I mean, one thing again to remind yourself is that the only constant that we can be assured of is change. So again, if what goes up comes down, well, what goes down also comes up. I don't like this guy that I'm about to quote, but I've quoted him before, and all right, whatever. Henry Ford. Henry Ford was a NAZI sympathizer. The Henry Ford that gave us the automobile. But even a broken clock is right twice a day. And he had a saying that I think is really worth remembering. He said, whether you tell yourself you can or you tell yourself you can't, either way, you're right. So you get to decide what you do with these clouds in the face of overwhelm because of disappointment. And the cards are suggesting that with a disciplined set of practices, even if the practice is saying what goes down comes up, what comes up goes down, the only constant is change, this too shall pass, whatever you need to do, that will help you navigate this disappointment and come to a place of ease and of peace. So that's what I've got for you, Virgo. Let me know how it works out. Okay, Libra, it's your turn. So the tarot card that I've picked for you is the Ace of Wands. This is it in the Black Tarot. Really interesting difference in interpretation here. So this is about raw creative energy. Wands are less about thinking and more about doing. So this is raw creative energy. So I'm very curious to see, Libra, what the Lenormand has to offer us for you in terms of how you can exercise that kind of raw creativity. It's an idea, or not an idea. It's an action in its incipient stages, I would say. Okay. Wow. Okay. Really interesting. So remember, we're dealing with this raw creative energy. It's a doing as opposed to a thinking about it. And it's at the beginning stages. So it's very interesting that our first card is the Child. The Child is the card for something new, something just beginning. So that's perfect. The other cards are the Young Woman, the Bear, the Bouquet, and the Cross. A word about the Cross. If I had seen the Cross as the first card instead of the last card, I would have said, I don't know, this new thing that you're about to start, maybe don't start it. But the card is at the end, so I'm not saying that. All right, what am I saying? I'm saying that spirit, source, energy knows that what we're talking about, because this and this, essentially, they're the same thing. I love that. This is young yin energy. So you may be feeling some tentativeness about starting whatever this thing is, right? I mean, it's new, untested, untried, but the cards are suggesting that you go full steam ahead with it, that you're going to be a boss at whatever this is, that this ace card is only the beginning, that whatever this plan is that you are going to implement, because this is about implementing it, the very beginning stages, it looks like it's going to take off. And look at this. The fourth card is the bouquet. I can mirror it with the young woman. Whatever you're thinking of doing, and I mean, God, there's infinite ways, right, that you can, there are infinite things you can be beginning, obviously, right? This is for every Libra. So it's going to be different for each one, right? But one of the things that Libras are known for is their, believe it or not, their physical beauty. They tend to be physically, facially symmetrical. And so I think it's interesting that the bouquet card pops up, because for a lot of you, what you will be doing is creative in nature. And if you recall, this is the card for visual performing arts, anything that lends beauty to the world. But by the way, that could be anything. You could be doing hair. You could be grooming dogs. You could be, beautifying a park. Anything that lends beauty to the world in a kind of a yin way. And I think this cross is really interesting. Now, to be frank, a cross is, we know it's a religious symbol, right? Why is it a religious symbol? Because it was used as an instrument of torture, right? It's the Christian symbol of crucifixion. So generally, this is like not a great card, like the end or something bad, but not all the time. And it's important when you read cards to use your intuition. And you never read a card all by itself. It's like saying the word dog all by itself. Do you really get a picture of anything besides, I don't know, a vague sort of four-legged thing with a snout and a tail? And, so it needs other words to make that dog come alive, right? Well, it's the same with every Lenormand card. Here, because of the cards that it's partnered with, and in the context of the tarot, I think this speaks to nothing bad, but instead something that is like an offering that you give to the world. So, for example, you could argue, I'm a Libra rising, actually, spending my Saturday doing those videos is you could argue it's an offering. It's like an act of, I'm sacrificing my time. And this is a card of sacrifice, altruism, right? It's an altruistic act for me to do these videos. So I think whatever your idea is that you're going to be, not your idea, your plan, it's gone past the idea stage. Now it's in the actual bringing to fruition stage, but at the very beginning, incipient stages of that. Whatever it is, I think you're going to be really good at it. I think it will lend easefulness in some way to the world. This is the card again for beauty, joy, not like jump up and down Christmas joy, that's clover, but more like a settledness, like like if you, I don't know, went to an art museum or something. Maybe you're gonna have an exhibit of your art. I don't know. But whatever you're gonna do, it feels like it's pro publica, pro bono, for the good of other people. So if you weren't thinking about that, Libra, start thinking about it now. You still have a couple of days. If there's something that you're thinking about implementing, it could be something like, I don't know, anything in action. It's an action. Working at a soup kitchen would be very much that way. Volunteering at the felon's birthday party, aka No King's March on his birthday. I mean, there's so many ways that you can implement this, but it's a really exciting, energizing, creative, vibrant month for you, Libra. And so look for ways in which to live that out. And let us know at the end of the month how that worked out for you. Scorpio, you're up next. So the tarot card that I've pulled for you is the same name in both decks. This is the Black Tarot, and this is the Smith-Waite Tarot. This card is called the Lovers. Oh, I guess I'm supposed to cover up the one card. Well, you know what I mean, the Lovers. Hopefully they won't take the video down because of the nudity. But anyway, the Lovers. Now, you know, we know what the word lovers means, and everybody gets all gushy and romantic when you see the card, oh, the lovers. But bear in mind that this card has other meanings. One of them is partnerships. So that could be like a business partnership, right? That would be the lovers card. But it's also choices, particularly moral choices, Scorpio. So you may be faced with some moral choices this month, or a moral choice that you have to make. Or you could be contemplating a partnership. But let's see what Tarot has to say. I mean, Lenormand has to say. Okay, Scorpio. We have the Lovers as the tarot card. Remember, that's moral choices, that's agreements, partnerships, also sometimes romantic love. We have the Mountain, the Heart, the Fox, Clover, and the Older Woman. So it looks like heretofore, meaning before the month begins, you may have felt thwarted or blocked in some way in regard to a partnership or an agreement or some sort of moral choice, Scorpio, that has been difficult for you to make. But it looks like things move forward for you as the energy of the month progresses. We have the Heart following that. And I can mirror the Heart with Clover, which means that to whatever degree you found yourself initially stymied and sort of held back, I think things become suddenly clearer in terms of what the right choices are to make, what feels right in your heart. And so, you know, you're being asked to move from the heart, to think from the heart. Now, this is at the end of the line. This is yin energy, and I can mirror it with this Mountain. You may have been so far intransigent about something, set in your ways, determined that it's going to be your way or the highway, but something does seem to soften your heart, which is fortunate, and you move more from a yin place, which is a more compromising, I'm going to say, place. Now, the card that's in the middle is interesting, and it feels very scorpionic to me, which is the Fox. So, if you have taken a particular stance because you just say, that's it, that's the hill I die on, and there's no moving me off of it. And then you yield, which it looks like you're going to yield. You could be yielding because you have figured out a way to have yielding serve your personal purposes. I mean, that's good. That means both parties can be happy. But, the fox, be sure that the decision that you make to yield, not yield, or whatever, comes from a morally upright, as you read it, place. Because the fox doesn't always come from such a place. The fox can be a very self-serving animal. And remember that your tarot card, since it's the Lovers, is talking about agreements, compromise. So in whatever the situation is, it's important, Scorpio, that you allow space for the other party to feel as whole at the end of the day as you intend on feeling. Get it, Scorpio? All right. Very curious to hear how that works out for you. Okay, Sagittarius, we're looking at the month of June for you. So the tarot card that I've drawn for you is the Three of Cups in the Smith-Waite deck. The Three of Baskets is how it's portrayed in the Black Tarot. This is a beautiful card. It's a card of celebration, a card of community. I mean, can't beat that with a stick. And, Sag, you're a very sort of a happy sign. So I love that for you. Let's see what Lenormand has to add to flesh out what that celebration thing is all about. Okay, so remember, we're talking about something celebratory for you in the month of June. I know what we all want to be celebrating in the month of June, and it's not somebody's birthday, if you know what I mean. But for Sag, Sag likes to travel, right? So isn't it interesting? We have the Ship as your first card. So Ship, Tower, birds, the older woman, and the dog. Okay. So the Ship, this is forward movement of any kind, but a lot of you will probably travel. I mean, technically, right? Something popped up, but that's why I was looking at my screen. There was some weird thing that popped up. But anyway, this is the card for travel in June, Sagittarius. Again, not all of you will travel. So, if you're not planning on traveling, if you're nailed to your house, whatever, think of all the different ways that we can travel. Think of all the different ways that we can move from where we are to a new place, even if it's in our head. Ask Emily Dickinson, she knows. The Tower. This is the card for independence, autonomy. Also, I think Sag is a very social sign. So to whatever degree you are feeling a little bit isolated, needing company, I think that you will be in the company of more people in June, maybe than you have been to date. Uh, the center card confirms that, because the birds is the card for gathering, talking. So you're going to be interacting with maybe a lot more people than, let's say, you were last month, right? This card I can mirror with this. This can be plural. It can be women, plural. You might be very concerned about the autonomy of women, the independence of women. You may be doing things with women. And I love the dog at the end, because I can mirror the dog with this ship. You may be visiting friends. You may be traveling with friends. And it definitely all ties in, right, with that celebratory vibe of the Three of Cups, the Three of Baskets card. So I'm curious, how many of you maybe even weren't planning to travel, but then you see this reading and you say, well, why not? And by the way, there are lots of ways of traveling. My point is, I think you're going to be in conversation, in community, in connection with other people this month in a bigger way, especially because of that birds card. So it looks really fun, and I'm curious to hear how your June goes. Okay, Capricorn. For you, the tarot card for the month of June is the Eight of Cups, or in the Black Tarot, the Eight of Baskets. So you see a figure from the back. They are obviously moving away from where they've been. This card is a lot of times called, walking away. Sometimes it's called the sad goodbye. But I think it's interesting to look at these two cards. I don't know. With the moon in this card, there's a wistfulness here. Even the posture of the person, they're carrying a walking stick, which makes them lean a little bit forward. And you can see why this would be called the sad goodbye. This one, though, same card, right? Just called the Eight of Baskets. What's interesting is she's walking away too, but she is more standing in a more erect posture, seems to be pretty resolute in being okay with leaving behind whatever she's leaving behind. So let's see what Lenormand can lend to this. And again, this is for Capricorn. There is something that you will be leaving behind. So what can Lenormand say that will make this leaving easier? Okay. Well, again, I love the synchronicity. As I said, you're leaving something behind, Capricorn, in the month of June. Our cards are the Scythe. We have the Scales. We have the House, the Ring, and again, the older woman. Women are showing up a lot. I think we might hear a lot about the E-files this month. All right, the Scythe. This is a very decisive card. She would love this card, the Scythe. She is cutting her losses. She is not looking back. It's a decision that she's made, and she's good with it. So you've made this decision to walk away. It feels like it is like you did the requisite cost-benefit analysis in deciding to leave. So this is not any kind of thing that you're doing by the seat of your pants. There's nothing fly by night about it. This is a conscious decision, very, very well considered. And I think that it is for the good of yourself. This is a card, yeah, it's where you live, but our souls live in our bodies. So believe it or not, the house is the card for the physical body. Whatever you're leaving behind is a good decision, a righteous decision, a well thought out decision for you, for your well-being, whatever that means to you. Now, the fourth card is the ring. And having weighed the pros and cons of the decision, you are now committed. That's what the ring means, committed to the decision. And I really like this. Again, this can be a man, it could be a woman. Obviously, there are Capricorns who are male, Capricorns who are female, and everything in between. This is energetic. And the energy of this is been there, done that, and over it. And I am going to greener pastures. There is some, nostalgia attached to the leaving behind of anything. And you can kind of see a little bit of sadness in her eyes. But she knows that it's the right thing because I can mirror her with this scythe. So whatever you're leaving behind, and I mean, it could be anything. It could be a place, a person. It could be a belief. It could be a habit. It will play out differently, right, for each Capricorn. So take notes and let us know at the end of the month how that played out for you. I think it's a good decision. You think it's a good decision. And I think you will land in the exact right place you're meant to land. Okay. Okay, Aquarius. Well, I still have a voice. You're up. For the month of June, I have pulled for you in the tarot deck from the traditional Smith-Waite deck. We have the Four of Pentacles. Here's the same card in the Black Tarot. Okay. Now, this is a card, the Four of Pentacles. On the one hand, you have achieved and amassed and are proud of what you've achieved and what you've amassed. And of course, you want to hold on to what you've achieved and what you have amassed. The thing about that card, the Four of Pentacles, Four of Coins, is that you want to be careful that you don't grasp too tightly. I'll give you an example. So, I lived on the East Coast for decades. And when my daughter was little, I took her to the beach and she played with this in the sand, whatever. And then it was time to go home. And she wanted to take sand back home. Well, I made sure that I had all the shovels and all of the buckets in my possession. So when she went to bring sand home, she carried it from the beach in her hands. And I didn't say to her, well, you should carry it a certain way because you don't want to lose it. I said to myself, you know what? Yeah, carry it in your hands. Because I knew that by the time we got to the car, she would have gripped that handful of sand so tight that there would have been nothing left. It would have flowed right through the cracks between her fingers. And sure enough, no sand was coming in my house. Okay. Which is to say, when you grasp too tightly, you end up maybe holding on to your earthly resources. But what do you lose then? What do you then lose if you're so busy hunkering down and holding on to what you have? I think that I really like this version of the card better. And not just because it's the Black Tarot, but here it's as though she's knocked at a door. She doesn't know whether it will be opened to her or not. She doesn't know what reception she'll get if it is opened. She is herself open, 1 foot forward. Her hands are not defensively like this. They are behind her because she is holding what is most valuable about her behind her. In other words, she's got a good sense of how much you give and how much you keep to yourself. And so there's a balance there. In this card, there's symmetry and there's balance. Look, he's got, each foot on a coin. He's holding a coin. He's got a coin on his head. There's symmetry and balance there. But this guy looks really like locked up and miserly. This one is someone who took Polonius's advice in Hamlet, where Polonius says to her daughter who's dating Hamlet, and Hamlet's really not treating her very well. And Polonius, her dad, says to her, "Tender yourself more dearly," meaning value yourself enough that you don't let yourself be mistreated by somebody who, I don't care if he's a prince or who he is, should not be treating you in this manner. She already knows that lesson. She's still open and receptive, but she's balanced in terms of not allowing herself to be ill-used, we'll say. All right. So how do you achieve that balance, I guess, is the question for you, Aquarius. How do you give without overpouring so that there's nothing left for you? How do you keep enough for you without being selfish about it, I guess? So let's see what the cards have to say. Okay, we have the Child, we have the Stork, we have the Garden, the Rider, and the Cross. Remember if you've seen the other videos, we had the Cross in another reading as well. So, you may start to be thinking about this in new ways. How do I have enough for myself? Whether it's time, resources, money, energy, how do I have enough for myself? But not so much that I don't have it to give somebody else. This may be a new way of looking at it and thinking about it. And I suspect that that's true because the Child card is something new. What new ways can you think about your resources and how to be a better steward of your resources? Because in the center, we have the Garden. And if this is all about you, this is all about other people. So you really are being asked, what are your resources? In what ways can you be more expansive? Not that so that it costs you too much, but it, you know, because the message is, message is this card of altruism and sacrifice, which of course is the opposite of this guy. But this version of the card has achieved it. You know, I've arrived at your door to check and see how you are. I hope you let me in. I wish you well. But if you come at me some kind of way, I'll be out. I will tender myself more dearly. I'm keeping something for myself. So here, this is the card of, you know, how can you better husband your resources so that you give as much as you take? Whatever way that means. I'm sure you're very generous people, so no shade. I'm just reading the cards. You know, are there resources that you have maybe that you haven't even thought of before that all of a sudden occur to you? Oh, wait, I can use this resource in service of someone else. So you're being asked to think about everything that you have, everything that you are, and say, how can I use a portion of who I am and what I have in service of the collective? So that's the message. Let us know how it goes. Last and definitely not least, definitely, see, I can't talk after doing 11 signs. I have Pisces. And Pisces, I think this was definitely worth the wait because the tarot card that I have for you is the Sun. Beautiful. The Sun is all about joy, success, vitality. I wish all of that for every Pisces out there in the month of June. Love that for you. And let's see what Lenormand has to add to that. I mean, you can't get better than the Sun. I will say, though, I'm sure that I know that this is true for tarot as much as it is true for Lenormand. When we see the Sun card in tarot, we're like, ooh, you know, like I just was, you know, vitality, joy, success. Sounds great. But it's also important to remember other things about the Sun. I have to cover up the nakedness of the little boy or else they'll demonetize the video. But anyway, the Sun is warm. And sometimes the Sun is so warm that it's hot and it can burn. And the Sun can shine in places that people would prefer there be darkness, right? So, you know, you never know. Let's see what the Sun is for you. Generally speaking, though, when the Sun in tarot pops up, that's great. So let's see what Lenormand has. Woo! Oh my God, Pisces. Look at this. Oh, oh my God. Mice, snake, letter, Sun again, and scales. Now, I mean, I am sure that it may not be the case for every Pisces in captivity that, you know, life's been tough. Although, I mean, I have to say, since 2016, life's been tough for everybody on our side of the ledger. But it's very interesting to have such a wonderful, beautiful tarot card pop up, what they call the best card in the deck pop up for you. And then when I start to pull the Lenormand cards, we have some of the worst. Just to start out, we have the mice and the snake, the letter, the sun, the scales. All right, here's the thing. Mice is worry, stress, anxiety, etc. But it's followed by the snake. Now, I said the snake's not good either. The snake is trouble. However, the mice eat the snake. I know in nature it's the other way around, but in Lenormand, the mice eat the snake. So whatever you've been going through, like I always say on the channel, trouble don't last always. What goes down comes up. And whatever you've been going through, and it looks like it's been, a time, let me just say, the wheel is about to turn for you in the best possible way. In the center, we have the letter. And I would just, the letter is just such, in some ways, it's a wonderful card. In some ways, it can be really frustrating because it's for anything in writing. So this could be a job offer for some of you. This could be a diploma for some of you. This could be a letter from some beloved person for some of you. For each of you, of course, obviously, right? It's going to be something different. For some of you, the letter will be maybe if you've been going through it, like some of you have, maybe write down what you want to bring in to move the energy of whatever came before. What are you grateful for? Gratitude is a love language for the universe. They love that. So if you're saying to yourself, oh my God, it's been tough, it's been rough, and you're tempted to say to yourself, and I guess that means it's always going to be tough and always going to be rough. No, instead say, these are the things I'd like to bring into my life. And thank you, because I know they're already on their way to me. Now, that might sound a little woo-woo, but I'm reading cards. Of course it's woo-woo. I believe in it, though. And look, so do the cards, because we have, again, the sun, the best card in the deck. Not just the sun, but the scales, which is it's saying that, things will balance out for you. Trouble don't last always, and things will balance out. So take heed, take heart. We all are feeling like you, Pisces, if you know what I mean, until the great day comes for which we've all chilled champagne. Trouble don't last always, and things will balance out. Okay? So let us know how your month goes, where you were and where you ended up. And I look forward to hearing from you.